Welcome to my world, Disturbed Noise, a place to be inspired, get encouragement, and gain wisdom in order to live a better life. I'm your host, Amir Alexander. Let's get into it. So this is a continuation of episode or part one of this, and in this part we're just gonna dive into purpose and identity and all that kind of stuff. But because I know that's something that you're really strong about, like your purpose, your identity. So if you just want to give a little spill about that and what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm not sure how much of the first part caught what I'm gonna say, I guess. But I guess I'll start from scratch. No, I mean, because I think my thing is we were talking about business and about how I got started and with college and where to go and stuff like that. And I think for me, one of the bigger messages that I want to talk about is just the idea of identity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel it's such an underrated topic, because I feel people you need to do, I think I saw this study, I forgot how they put it, but it's essentially you're not going to do something that you feel is incongruent with who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that first step in terms of trying to get fit or trying to walk up to that pretty girl in class or start the business or whatever it is, you need to be able to work on your inner game in terms of being able to basically gas yourself up and to be able to believe in yourself that I'm the type of person that can succeed. I'm the type of person that can get a dream body. I'm the type of guy that can have the confidence to ask out the prettiest girl in class or whatever your goal is. And so for me, it was a thing where I needed to work on my own paradigm shift of trying to shift from okay, this is what I think I can do to, all right, now let's actually think on a larger scale. And I'm super thankful for my friends, man. Because I mean, obviously for you and for this, and it's been really crazy to see the journey with, how God, aligned our paths and stuff. But
Definitely.
even some of my other friends, my friend Armand, man, he taught me about how to step out of your own frame and think on a mass scale.
Yeah.
Because there's a thing where I mean, he says this all the time, and I really think he's going to do it. And he's bro, I'm going to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
And it's not even a thing where it's being delusional or whatever, but it's the thing of just a frame of reference of no, I really believe that I can do this. And I think even this is Russell Wilson's thing, but it's why not me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think some people automatically dismiss themselves from certain possibilities in their life. And so therefore they don't even try. Yeah. So it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy of you're never actually doing the things that you want to do, not because you're incapable of doing them, but because you don't even try.
Yeah.
And so it's almost this vicious cycle of these affirmations that are negative, but because you're not actually willing to break the cycle and actually do something.
Yeah, I think just to add a layer to that also, I think is our faith too, right?
Yeah.
We know who we are in God, and I know that's, I mean, whoever feels however about that, but it's true. I think that's where a lot of my self-worth and all that, I look at myself how God would look at me. I know that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I know that God has graced me for certain things. So even adding on to what you're saying is for us, it's our faith, whatever that is for you. But we're Christians, obviously. But that's been a big thing that I've been working out as well. What does God say about me? You know what I mean? Those simple things.
Gosh.
I'm
huge.
When you start to really dive into what God has to say about you, you'll start looking at yourself as a king, as a queen, or whatever like that. Because
we have that confidence, man.
Because that's how he looks at you. He doesn't look at you as your mistakes. He doesn't look at you as all this kind of stuff how humans look at you. Yeah. He looks at from a whole different view, and that makks the difference for me. Because now I'm okay, I'm not living up to this human standard because God thinks XYZ about me. Right. I'm living to please him, and only him. And then I'm starting to live a life where it's wow, I'm really starting to feel blessed. I'm really starting to feel congruent with who I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And that's a problem with it, especially people our age. I say about the 16 to about 24 and above nowadays of people just having a lack of purpose. And I think for me, a lot of that stems of not having a relationship with God. And so I know, and we talk about that all the time, just going deeper and trying to be more sensitive to the spirit and stuff like that. But finding a sense of purpose is not is I think people try to hyper focus on purpose, right? It's oh, I need to find my purpose, and it's bro, just live your life. Try to become a better person. Start to do I know people who just who complain about their life and all they do is play video games. It's bro, and there's nothing wrong with video games because Joe Rogan just did
Shots fired.
Joe Rogan, hold on, because Joe Rogan just did a podcast about that and got there's nothing wrong with video games. I think my thing is what are you working towards? Because as much as people say you can make a career off of that, yes, you can. There's people making millions of dollars. Nate Shot, the whole gang,
Ninja,
but
true.
Also, they're also building something. So it's like you can also say it's still what I'm saying goes because like
I draw video games. And here's the thing, like guys, like I've been like I'm a nerd when it comes to like gaming. A lot of people don't know this about me in general, but like I love like I got into like I was winning like competitive Call of Duty tournaments. I was like, you know, I'm actually working on a platform now to be able to kind of like, I guess like supply my older nerdy self with what I wish I had. Yeah. But that's kind of like a later talk for another time. But like I remember thinking to myself like just spending so much time like as I literally scratched my entire gaming setup. I'm like, I didn't throw it away. Like, don't freak out. Like, but I just like I had to get it out because it was like for me, I was thinking about how many hours have I spent doing this. You know what I mean? And like, and I'm not trying to demonize fun. And I think this is another one of those battles for me of like, okay, like you want to enjoy your life, obviously. You want to create a life that you love and that you enjoy and you have things that you do strictly for fun. But then at what point does it become a waste of time? Yeah. You know what I mean? So for me, like I was spending so much time gaming, like, you know, it's Call of Duty and like Overwatch and all these different games. And I was looking back on it and I was like, what did I get from this? I literally had nothing. Like I probably put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into this game. And I'm like, I have nothing. And for me, that just like, that was like the breaking point of like, once again, like to be congruent with who I believe I am. And I'm like, okay, I have this identity of like how I see myself and how I want my life to look like and having that vision for myself. And I'm like, okay, would that hunter be playing video games for 4 hours a day? Like, you think that's what they're going to be doing? Do you think like Tom Cruise or Jeff Bezos or The Rock or whoever is, you know, sitting around playing video games? Probably not. Yeah,
and and you know that talk is not for everybody. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur and all that stuff. Yeah. But I do think either way, you still have a purpose to your life, and I think purpose is found in just trying things. Also, people are like, "Oh, I'm not successful. I'm not." I'm like, "What is the lesson you just tried? Like maybe you can be a professional video game player and have this big company, but like you're just complaining about where you're at. Like you're not even making any steps toward trying to become a better person. And that's what confuses me about a lot of people. And I try to have grace for those people. I'm like, man, just try something. Like, you know, have you tried? Are you a carpenter? Like who are you? You know what I mean? And,
for sure.
And then kind of like something I told you earlier is like the question you have to ask yourself is, who are you becoming? Right?
That's huge.
Because yes, go ahead, play your video games, have fun. I'm not here to demonize fun at all. But who are you becoming through that process? Right. Are you becoming someone that's going to be like, oh man, wait, this is a real thing. I'm good at it, so I'm going to start playing in tournaments, or I want to own a company over one day. Again, not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you want to work for a company like that. Yeah. But you have to ask yourself that question. Yeah. What am I like by doing this action, whatever that is, playing video games, whatever. Who am I going to be on the other side of this? Oh yeah, that's such a pivotal question that I've even asked myself doing certain things. I'm like, what is this doing for me?
Oh, 100%. It's a major question, man, and I feel like it's a big issue. I mean, like really, it's the identity thing in general. Of like, I feel like a lot of people are like just kind of floating. Yeah. Like I think Armand says this like funny thing I laugh at all the time. He says like, shout out to Armand. He'll know this. Dynamic. It's a joke. But anyway, so I remember he said this thing with like. He said a lot of people are just kind of like fish. Like they just do stuff. Yeah. They're kind of just floating around, like not really sure what they're doing, not really sure where they're going. You know what I mean? And I think for me, it was like you got to know what you want. Because I think for me, like whenever I give advice for people, I was always giving people advice from the frame of like what I would do or what I would want. But then like, dude, not everybody wants the same thing. True. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I think the only thing you can do, like if you are lost and like, let's just say you're in some kind of like college program that you don't really want to be in, you're not really feeling it, but you're kind of just doing it to make mom or dad happy so they don't get on you. It's like, you've got to just try things, man. Yeah. Because I think even for me, like when I was starting with the advertising stuff, like I didn't know that like this is what I was going to be doing. Right. But I just knew that like I wasn't going to be over here. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like you just got to try stuff and just like be able to just really stand up for your own values and know what your values are. And I think really becoming like a Christian, stuff like that, and being raised in a Christian home and things like that have helped me form my own identity in terms of like, you know, what does God say I am? Yeah. What does the Bible talk about? How does like a Christian live and stuff like that, to be able to form that first layer. But then like I think even taking a step further, it's like a lot of people, you know, who don't have that background or who weren't able to be raised in a certain home or whatever, like it does become a struggle. You know what I mean? And so that way I think like you've got to hang around with the right people. You got to put yourself in a situation to meet other people. You got to actually try things and just do it, man. Because I think especially as young people, man, like we have a lot of time. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so like I just want to make sure that people are just being able to stand up for what they believe in, and they're not making choices out of like fear of social rejection by others.
Yeah.
But they're actually making their own decisions. Because like in high school, man, like so much peer pressure. I mean, I'm sure like a lot of you guys, man, if you're in school or even at work or whatever, like there's certain things that you do that just like you're not really feeling it, but everybody else is doing it
because everyone else.
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, feeling lonely and being putting yourself in a position where it's like just because everyone else is doing it, I don't have to do it. Was something that I learned myself too. And you know, I mean, it's hard too when you're down, right? Because I think even giving someone like this talk, but like it's when you're in a low spot, because I've been there before. Gosh, like all this sounds all cool, like man, you just gotta like, but I mean, there is truth in it. So don't just negate it just because you're like, you know, yeah, whatever, you guys will figure it out. But because I've been in a low place, he's been in a low place before. And really the ways that I was able to do that, one, I think a big thing, one is my faith, and second is the people that I have around me. Right. That is one of the most fundamental things. And really, if the people around me aren't going the same place that I'm going, I almost can't be around them. I don't feel comfortable. I feel uncomfortable around those kind of people. Yeah. And I know you feel the same way. Yeah. And so for sure. And so like that's another thing about like cultivating your environment. Something Armand talks about a lot too. Like you know, we were just talking about that the other day. It's like, you know, having an environment around you that's conducive of where you're trying to go.
Oh, no, for sure, man. Yeah, and so that's kind of the thing too. It's like especially like when it comes down to just like decision making, a lot of social pressure, and a lot of like social acceptance issues and stuff. Like for me, it's like a big thing that, and not everybody can do this, but I remember for me, it was like I had a situation where like the crowd was going one way. Mm-hmm. I knew I wasn't supposed to be going that way, but if I didn't go that way, I'm by myself. Yeah. And so, I mean, talk about lonely, man. It's like, there were a lot of situations where, like, I had to leave parties because I was uncomfortable with what was happening. Yeah. Like, there were situations where, like, I'll go to this action sports camp and, like, my whole cabin is filled with, like, people who are just doing, like, heavy drugs. And just, I'm like, okay, I can't really hang out with these guys either. Yeah. So I'm skateboarding by myself. I'm hanging out in my room by myself. Yeah. I'm going on this thing by myself. Like, and so a lot of it is kind of like, at least with the entrepreneur side, it's like, it is kind of like this unspoken, like, thing that has to happen. Bro. Like you have to be willing to be by yourself, not really connect with anybody, and just hope that you meet in Amir or you meet in Armand or you meet somebody who you feel like you have the same like values as, but it can be really lonely and not everybody's willing to take that jump. Bro,
one of my podcasts talk about that, just like the fact of being, it's difficult. Like I'm going to tell you right now. But on the other side of that, I was able to meet somebody like you, and I wasn't turned off to the idea, because that's another thing, especially as an entrepreneur. Like when you've blocked, I've blocked I've cut everybody off, and not cut people off, but like just kind of distance myself from everybody. Yeah. And then it's like at that point you're not even like welcoming new people into your life, and that's all. Like,
well, you shut down because I think like you lose expectations for other people. Yes, like because you couldn't have like this idea of like my ideal friend or my ideal girlfriend or boyfriend, and you kind of like. And you start just like automatically like writing people off because like in your mind you're thinking the odds of me meeting this person are so low that you kind of get in this place where you don't even want to try.
The self-fulfilling prophecy thing. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm never going to meet somebody like.
Yeah, there's no way.
I'm not gonna lie, I got into that especially moving here, because before moving here I cut a lot of people off that I was friends with in Philly, and then like meeting it was like, all right, man, like okay, cool. Like I tried to not put any like weight to the relationship until like really deep into it, where I'm like, oh no, that is my bro. now it's a whole nother thing, because I allowed myself to be uncomfortable for a season. Yeah. I met somebody that was like, oh man, like that's somebody, he's a God-fearing guy. We now we do business together. And I went through all of these phases to be like, oh man, now I feel comfortable accepting people in my life. Right. I mean, you're gonna go through those seasons where it's just like, you kind of have to cut everybody off. Like, and it's hard, but like...
It's tough, man. It's tough.
It's tough, but it's necessary.
You have
Especially in some people's life, it's like, you're not supposed to be hanging out with that person.
Oh, for sure.
They bring nothing to your life. Or like, the way they treat you. You have to watch the way people speak into your life. The way people talk about... Yeah. You really have to be careful about that kind of stuff, especially going into this entrepreneur journey where people are just snakes, and it's just like a weird... It's a weird space to be in, and then adding on the extra pressure that we're like 19, 20 getting into this stuff, bro. Again, the journey is not easy, but if you stick with it, you can become young kings like us. No, seriously though, if you do stick with it, there is like, I feel like we're the representation of that. There's hope at the end of the tunnel. There's light at the end of the tunnel if you just really push push past it and just kind of be like, all right, man, you know, I'm alone for this season, but I know that there's going to be something at the end of this.
Well, no, and that's huge, man, too. And I think it's realized, like, even like for certain friends who I've spoken to who are in like a down place or like in a down year or a down season or whatever it is, like circumstances don't always stay the same. You know what I mean? So it's a thing where like you're in a situation, like let's say you're in a situation right now and like things are really tough for you. It's like you've got to realize that like if you just keep going, you keep on trying to fulfill your mission, you keep on trying to like put yourself out there, meet new people. Like even if it doesn't go well for the first couple of times, if you just keep going, like something will happen eventually. You know what I mean? Like I've been in situations where like I thought things would never get better.
Oh, same
and
here.
you get this, like, it's toxic, and you start to believe like, oh, it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be good. I'm never going to be able to do whatever. And then 3 months later, you're in a completely different headspace. Things are going your way.
Yeah,
like you can't lose hope. You know what I mean? Like things will get better.
That was literally my story moving down here. When I moved down here, and I had no friends, I had no money. Like it was a sucky situation. And then like you know, next thing you know is like you know I working with a $20 million company. You get what I'm saying? Like 4 months later into moving here, but in the beginning of it, it was like, oh, this is gonna last forever. I have to get this crappy job where everybody freaking complains all the time, and it's like, bro, I was down for a minute, just like not feeling myself, not feeling. And then again, I meet somebody like you, and then I keep pushing. Like, and that's the thing, I didn't stop pushing. I didn't stop moving forward. I kept pushing. I met you. I got this. I sent out 20 million emails to, because I was like. I told myself, I think I worked there for like 3 months or so. I was like, I will not be working here. I remember when I quit, I told you, I was like, yo, when I quit, I'm like, bro, I fulfilled that thing. I think it was right before we went to Miami is when I quit. And I was just like, man, like that's just that you have to have that internal thing that's like, I'm gonna keep pushing because I know what I want at the end of the day.
Oh no, well
that's a fight, man.
Yeah, no, and that's where it starts, man. Like you've got like it all starts with like that decision. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I think a lot of people feel like they have to get like that initial affirmation that like things are actually going well in order for it to change. Yeah, but it's like no, like you've got to make a decision in the dark place that you're in a situation that you don't want to be in or a circumstance you want to be in or whatever. Of like no, like I am going to fix this. Like I am going to be able to get out of this. I'm going to figure it out and just keep on going. Because same thing for us. I feel like we're going to win because like we've made the decision that we're going to win. And it's not like this fairy tale of like, oh, I said I'm going to win, so I'm going to make $1 billion next year. It's like, no, like basically what we mean by that is like we're going to keep going. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if it's going to be this or if it's going to be that business or if it's going to be that relationship or whatever, but all I know is I'm going to keep going until I find that.
And it's something that we talk about all the time is being attached. What are you attached to, right? Yeah. We're attached to success, the outcome. Right. We're not attached to the vehicle that can get us the success. Right. And that's when you can the amount of success that you can see in that whole like riddle that I just said is like, bro, okay, cool. I'm attached to this outcome, making the decision, right? That making the decision that you're attached to the outcome is like, okay, I mean, maybe it's a course, maybe it's this podcast, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't know. It's a maybe for me. There's a sermon called Maybe God, Stephen Furtick. Look it up. It's really good. But it's just like it's the whole idea is like, oh, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. But not being attached to the here and now, but like attached to the outcome, not the vehicle. Oh yeah. Not exactly what's going to bring you there, and that's gonna give yourself some grace and some peace about the situation. Yeah. So I really love that, man. Yeah. But man, I really do appreciate you, one as a friend and secondly as a business partner. Absolutely. I'm gonna leave all your information down below. Yeah. Go follow this man. I'm telling you, he's a really good guy. He has a whole bunch of stuff coming out soon. His own YouTube channel, which I will link down below. And man, so yeah, man. I just appreciate you. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one.